I wanted to read you an excerpt from something I wrote this week. It's not polished, it's not perfect. It's from a non-glamorous part of the book, which was a long walk along the highway north in Finland. I also feel like it's important to mention here that Petronella did not walk across Finland. I found this out a little late. All the books and information about her were written in Finnish and Dutch, and so I couldn't read them. And I took an 89-year-old woman at her word when she said, I walked to Lapland. I was like, I'm going to do that too! But for those of you who know me, once I have a crazy idea like that, that's just kind of how it goes. So I tried. All right. Never before had I felt so visible and invisible at the same time. It was not a bad highway as highways go, long and flat and lined with evergreens and small houses, but it was a far cry from the serenely wooded trails of my imagination. Yet Highway E75 is what I had. On my map of Finland, it was a red line pointing straight north. My head ached from the smell of exhaust and the roar of semi-trucks. Curious faces peered at me from the windows of passing cars as the Finns, resigned to the politeness and anonymity of their national identity, blew by me in gusts of warm, diesel-scented wind. I measured the speed of cars and the pressure of air on my skin, the flapping of my shirt, the hairs pulled down from my ponytail with their passing. It felt like a test, and maybe it was. The gold miner named Aki had sent a message with directions to a private festival in Lemmenjoki at the end of July. Cross the Arctic Circle, take a bus 5 hours north of Rovaniemi to a town called Ivalo. Transfer in Ivalo, get off at the grocery store in Inari. Wait there for the mail taxi, and when the mailman comes, ask him for a ride to Myrgalati Bay. Find a boat driver who will take you 25 kilometers upriver to Koltahamina, Gold Harbor. With a map and a compass, walk 12 kilometers into the wilderness to a place called Pekusenkuru. If you can get yourself to Lemmenjoki, the gold miners seem to be saying, you might be tough enough to stay. That word, enough. I left San Francisco with something to prove. A woman on my first solo journey, solo being the operative word, with everything I needed on my back. My survival in my own strong hands. There was no need for me to walk along the highway. Petronella had taken a bus to Rovaniemi. But I told hundreds of people I would walk across Finland, and so far I hadn't done much walking at all. In the near month I'd been in this country, I'd accepted help at every turn. The festival was in 9 days. I was 543 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. I would walk fast. Walking is a form of confidence. The act of steadily moving in a direction, toward or away, occupying this path, this air, in this moment. A body becomes an animal. To walk on difficult terrain is to make a pact with the ground. You will keep me upright, and I will stay present. To falter is the walker's error. Stray attention, a lack of trust in the feet. My boots kicked up dust as I plowed down the highway shoulder and tried to forget the last message I received from Solange, chastising me for digging up her mother's story. She'd sent it 3 weeks ago, the night the Finnish reporter I'd met surprised her at her houseboat in California, demanding answers about her mother's past. I will let you know soonest whether I feel I could deal with coming over, but right now I'm just really overwhelmed with guilt and anxiety at what I've wrought, she wrote. Without Solange, without her mother's ashes, I was just a woman with a backpack. In 9 days, I would arrive at the gold miner's midst with nothing that was promised. No Petronella, no daughter, just myself and the goddamn stubbornness that got me there. For people who were expecting the return of a legend, how could I ever be enough? A semi-truck screamed by with a woolly mammoth strapped to its trailer. She was tusked and gargantuan with wild yellow eyes. The wind blew her lips back, revealing flat molars. Her skin flapped realistically in the breeze. What the fuck? I said out loud. The sound of my voice startled me. It was the first human voice I'd heard that day. Another truck roared by, hissing sharply as the driver changed gears. I stopped walking. rolled up the sleeves of my father's plaid shirt, and held out my arms, turning slowly in a circle. The mosquitoes spun with me. Am I awake? I asked them. They sunk their needles into my arms. Yes. I took off my baseball cap, waved away the mosquitoes, and placed it back on my head. My arms were turning red in the sun, and I felt the telltale prickle of heat on the back of my neck. Looking back the way I come, I allowed myself a moment of wishing I hadn't followed whatever foolishness had led me to be standing in the middle of Finland on a hot, flat highway. Yet deep down I knew that the night I met Petronella, I had found something worth risking everything for. That what I was doing was not for her, but for me. She was the key. Something had happened in Lapland that changed her forever. I needed to know what it was. I set off again in earnest, determined to make fewer stops, to walk until the bright afternoon slipped into bright night. My legs carried me forward in rhythm, past strip malls and lakes, buffet restaurants and large swaths of fir trees. The air above the pavement shimmered with heat. The asphalt rattled my shin bones. I urinated in the bushes on the side of the road. When I felt lonely, I left tiny notes in the plastic mailboxes in front of houses along the highway. I began talking to the mosquitoes. That evening, when my hunger would not allow me to continue, I made camp in a field of wildflowers on a gravel side road off the highway. I guessed by my map that I had made it about 13 kilometers. I had been hoping for 20. 4 tow-headed children passed on the road as I was staking down my tent. Eyes wide, they smothered nervous laughter with filthy hands and turned and ran for home. I cooked dinner as storm clouds rolled in over Kortejärvi Lake in the distance. The sky, yawning and black, was so striking I burned the pasta. When I lay down to sleep that night, the light made it feel like it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mosquitoes buzzed in my ear from outside the tent. Who burns pasta? I said to them. You cook it in water. They answered by throwing their bodies like rain against the red canvas walls. There is something about the nature of travel that promotes learning. I'm talking about the ugly kind. When you wake up alone, thousands of miles from any place you know, and realize you are the same person you thought you left at home, just with bags under your eyes. When you wave goodbye to the ones you love through the security gate and get on the plane and realize, somewhere over the Atlantic, that maybe you are not moving toward but away, that you may be addicted to motion, and this is just another stitch in a pattern of leaving and leaving, and beneath the glittering facade of your adventure is the insidious fear of stability, of holding still long enough for someone you love to realize you are not worth sticking around for. You learn so much about yourself when you're all alone, out of money, in a country where you don't speak the language, a high school friend of mine said once, and I repeated it for years after because the way he said it sounded so weighty and wise and universal. But I never, until that moment, paused to wonder what exactly it is you learn. You learn where the public bathrooms are, how to navigate by the maps pasted on the bus stop walls, how to pretend you belong in a nice restaurant by hiding your backpack under the table, ordering a glass of Chardonnay and a salad, and eating it leaf by leaf as if enjoying a 3-course meal. You learn how to look bored when you're actually afraid, where to set up your tent in the city in the dark, which alleys are best left untaken. You learn how to tune out the thought of what your friends might be doing on the 4th of July, and the aching that comes with knowing they're doing it, probably, without even a thought of you. You learn how to be lonely, how to resist the urge to fix your loneliness, how to let it season you until you can't any longer.